17 years ago, a reboot for the Prince of Persia series dropped and seemingly split the fan base despite being generally favourable by Metacritic scorers. Being 9 years old at the time, I had no idea that this game ever existed until now I started working on a big Platinum Challenge video which you'll be seeing in the next few months. As I seemingly deprived my 9-year-old self of this beautiful reboot and one of the first games to get trophy support on a PlayStation 3, please join me as I quest to get the Prince of Persia Platinum in 2025. Oh, you are kidding me.
Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Okay, so for this Platinum, there are a couple of trophies worth looking out for to ensure you minimise the amount of playthroughs required. According to PSMP, this game is a 2 out of 10, takes 1 playthrough and is estimated to take 15 hours. As mentioned, to ensure you only need to play the game once, you'll want to focus on these trophies, be gentle with her for dying less than 100 times. No, don't! Oh my god, that's our first death. Alright, we've got 99 deaths left. Speed Demon for completing the game in less than 12 hours, and finally Lightseed Master for collecting all 1001 collectibles. Of course, if you're smart with your saves, you can reload areas post-game to clean up collectibles that you may have missed, but I decided to do this in my first playthrough. So with that out of the way, we start our journey wandering through the desert looking for our donkey, and we are rudely interrupted by a princess called Elika, who is being chased by some soldiers. As any heroic protagonist would do, we intervene and aid her escape, which only gets us involved in a whole bunch of family drama which holds up the entire storyline of this game. Within this prologue area, we obtain some trophies, one for entering the canyon. Into the storm. Damn, we've already popped our first trophy, chat. We are now locked in. Oh, ow, that's not good. Sugar. And another for winning a wall minigame in combat. Oh, up against it, we got another trophy as well, let's go. As we escape this cursed area, we find out that Elika has some magical powers and we earn a trophy for her saving us in our escape. Remember how I said that we needed to die less than 100 times for a trophy? Well, this is the function it refers to. Essentially, don't fall while parkouring and don't mess up any QTEs while fighting enemies if you want to get that trophy. We debrief with Elika and earn a trophy for talking to her, which in turn completes the canyon area for another trophy. Another trophy, damn. After getting to what we think is safety, it turns out Elika's father has unleashed Ahriman, the god of darkness who has corrupted the beautiful lands around us. The game now introduces us to our world map and also the compass. By using the compass, we earn another trophy, and this will act as navigation throughout the game, which is quite useful. And it is worth noting our approach for the Platinum Trophy here. As you can see, there are 4 areas that we need to cleanse. Within those 4 areas, there are 4 corrupted lands you need to cleanse. You still with me? At the end of each sub-area, you'll encounter a boss fight for the section, and essentially you'll repeat this boss fight for the area multiple times. While doing this, this is a great time to work on some of the missable trophies related to performing certain actions against the bosses for each retrospective area, and of course getting the collectibles. After you cleanse the entirety of an area, of course you'll earn a trophy, but then you'll also have an opportunity to learn a new skill with Elika, which will help you traverse around the map and also assist you getting to new places to get some of the collectibles in awkward spaces. We continue to have a chinwag with Elika for around 5 minutes by pressing the prompt button to earn 2 further trophies, Getting to Know You and Good Company. Oh, there we go, there's one trophy, Getting to Know You. Oh, there we go, Good Company. I think that's all of the achievements for talking to her, which is awesome. This can be done at any point, but is still technically missable to an extent. I believe you should get this naturally as you speak to her in-game, as she provides you tips and also world lore, which is quite helpful. So with our task to cleanse each corrupted land one by one, we set off on our journey. Now, if I'm being real, the novelty of this game does wear off pretty quickly if you're purely focused on the Platinum Trophy, which I was. As I said earlier, there were 1001 collectibles. I was keeping my eye out for them, ensuring I didn't miss any to reduce backtracking at the end. I will give props to the game though, for being 17 years old, this art style is holding up really well, and I was a big fan of going through the dark corrupted areas, and then the payoff of seeing the cleansed area was such a nice reward to see all of the colours, which you don't really see often on 7th generation games. The music was quite good as well, and the combat, while it was simple, it was fairly fun in small doses. I enjoyed the different bosses and approaches you needed, but of course when you have to repeat the same boss, it gets kind of boring, and the parkour was interesting. Oh my god, you're a f***ing idiot! Why are you... Oh my god. This is not nice. This is not nice. And by interesting, I mean if you've ever played an old Assassin's Creed game. Oh no, you f***ing idiot! Oh my god. you'll know that your character loves to jump in random directions, usually off of the map to plummet to their death.
Hate it when it turns like that. I have no idea why it does that, man.
Great to see the consistency in Ubisoft titles. So on our journey to cleanse the first area, we deflected a hunter's attack 5 times in battle for a trophy, and then also were rewarded for healing the first land. As I mentioned earlier, when encountering the boss, you have miscellaneous trophies and also missable ones relevant to them. So I dipped into a different area here, and I actually encountered a different boss for this region, and this was the Alchemist. I got one of the relevant missable trophies here, which was for not using any acrobatic attacks while fighting the Alchemist. And now you might remember I spoke about collectibles earlier, and as a man that has conquered Assassin's Creed Valhalla's collectibles for the platinum,
Viking Legend, let's go, chat. Finally. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. How many hours? What's the final hour? 99 hours, 18 minutes and 1 second.
collectibles didn't really scare me anymore until I played this. Being an older game, there were reports of bugged collectibles causing people to start another playthrough, and with that in mind, all I could do was pray to the collectible gods that nothing messes up for me, and as a sign of good faith, they gave me a trophy for collecting the first 100 light orbs. So I continued cleansing the relevant areas, and I used the environment against an enemy for a trophy, unlucky lad, and I also deflected 20 attacks and then blocked 50 attacks for 2 more combat related trophies. I then hunted down the hunter and killed them in their own lair, and then I cleansed the first main land, which unlocks a brand new skill for Elika. I'm going to group together the next bunch of miscellaneous trophies as they're all very similar and are related to finding different parts of the world map which can be found at different stages in the game. The first was for reaching the highest point in the world, and the next was for reaching the lowest point. You could see the lowest point in many of my videos when I crash out, but apparently we hit it here as well. The next 2 were actually quite enjoyable miscellaneous trophies, and there's one area on the ship and you go to the right section on top of it and you get the Titanic trophy. Luckily we didn't share the same fate as Jack on this one. And then arguably the best trophy in the game for me was called Assassin's View, which of course is a nod to Ubisoft's other title at the time, which we now know is way more successful than Prince of Persia. After a lot of hard work of grinding the collectibles and also trying not to fall off while parkouring,
oh no,
we had our final encounter in the second area with the Alchemist and defeated them in the observatory. This in turn cleansed the entire land for this region again and then unlocked another special skill for Elika. We then headed to our next area, and the boss that housed this was called the Concubine. There is a missable trophy where you need to defeat them without using the grab move, and then while traversing these lands I also killed 10 generic enemies before they spawned in for the speed kill trophy. And to save us some time for this region, I cleansed all 4 lands, collected collectibles and tried not to die. And then I fought the Concubine for the final time and I earned the retrospective trophy for this area. I then progressed on to our 4th and final area, which houses the warrior boss, and for this special trophy you'll need to dodge their attacks 20 times. It's easier to get this done on the first boss fight. As you go through to the last boss fight they get gradually harder and harder. And while I continued my collectible and general healing of this area, I threw 10 of the normal enemies into the pits for the Throwmaster trophy, and being real, I should have earned this trophy a long time ago for throwing myself into the pits from many parkour errors. Parkour! And then as this area came to a close, we killed the warrior and cleansed our final land for some trophies. We then made our way back to the mainland and to the temple, and on our journey we completed 5 co-op jumps for the In Harmony trophy, and then we also discovered every part of the region for the Explorer trophy. With all of the land now cleansed, we could take on the antagonist of this game, Araman, and re-imprison him. This was a fairly cool area as boss fights go, but it did kind of go on for a bit too long, and I think it would have benefited from being a tad shorter, but as we expected, when we re-imprison him we get a trophy. And then I took a minute to think with Elika in my arms for the Precious Time trophy, and again this is a missable one. All you need to do is stand still for a minute and wait for it to pop. See, you may now be wondering what on earth is going on, and I like to think of myself as a good YouTuber where I don't waste your time, and while technically I may have wasted your time up to this point in the video, I wanted to save you from all of the fluff that the story points you through and thought I'd just summarize it now. Essentially, Elika was dead at the start of the game and got brought back to life by her daddy.
I'm your daddy.
Which in turn corrupted the lands and set loose the evil genie thing. You still with me? So by us then going through the entire game and undoing what we thought was a good deed by healing the land, it was actually setting the princess up to die again. You have the credits roll here, and I guess you could leave the game here if you wanted to, But to get the real ending, the game requires you to once again undo the work, and you essentially need to destroy 4 of the nice trees that you've been trying to save all game. Once you've cut down the 4 trees and reversed the land, just like magic, the princess comes back to life. And I kind of understand why people didn't like this game, because the whole game can feel pointless, and now this whole video in turn feels pointless. In fairness though, I didn't actually mind it too much. I think it poses a good question of morality, of saving the princess or honouring her wish to stay dead. Obviously I don't think that she died like on purpose. It was for whatever reasons, but it's kind of that morality question of, maybe she wanted the land to stay pure and safe, and sort of, taking her sacrifice. It reminded me a lot of when Joel made the choice to save Ellie in The Last of Us, and how that backfired on him in the later game in The Last of Us 2, and sort of it should have been her choice. So the prince does take this sort of out of her hands. Not like we have a choice in the game, that's just the direction of it. But I guess it would have been nice to see 2 endings potentially, but I'm getting too ahead of myself for a pretty much launch title of a PS3 game. But yeah, she may have wanted to stay dead, and she could have wanted the land to stay uncorrupted, but I don't know, she may be happy in the corrupted lands with the prince, who knows. But at this point we do actually reach the end game, and we get our last collectible here, which is the 1001st light orb. I didn't bother showing you all of the collectible pops earlier, but here they are now for the various milestones you reach.
Hey, trophy.
So with the game now completed for reals this time, and the princess saved, but the world in ruins, we anxiously await whether or not I would pop the speedrun and under 100 deaths trophy. Drumroll please.
Drumroll please. That's your drum roll?
When a tempo isn't specified, any reasonable person would default to lento.
Of course I did, because I'm the GOAT.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I think my total time was around 8.5 to 9 hours, so we had plenty of time to spare as well. And that's the entire main game done, but I do have some remaining trophies left to clean up, so I reloaded an older save and did some of the speedrun trophies that are best left until post-game, when you have all of the areas unlocked. All you need to do is run from point A to point B as marked out in the trophy description. It's pretty self-explanatory, and with a guide pulled up to direct you, it makes it even easier. There were 4 of these trophies, and I can't say that any of them were particularly challenging. In my case, they got easier with each one despite the timer increasing, giving you more time to do it. I thought that they would be more difficult, giving you a longer runtime, but it turns out that they were actually way shorter and way easier, which is a humongous W.
W's in the shot.
And then to conclude, all I needed to do was get a 14-hit combination and also complete all 64 combinations within the game. I did try to get the 64 combination trophy in my first playthrough, but it didn't work out unfortunately, and I was scared of the speedrun timer, so wasn't really focused on going for the 14-hit combo trophy either. I loaded up a brand new save and played for about maybe 30 minutes or so and got straight to work on trying the 14-hit combo. And it turns out that you do need to beat the first boss and then heal the first area as well, which I learnt the hard way of grinding out that boss several times for about 45 minutes before googling to see if it was even possible to get the trophy that early on, and it turns out it wasn't.
According to an AI overview, you cannot get the Swordmaster achievement by defeating Concubine, the first boss in the caverns. To unlock the achievement, you need to cleanse another area first, then return to the caverns and defeat Concubine. Right, okay, I have literally just wasted my entire time and your time, chat. How long has that been? 49 minutes. That is fantastic. Why did I not Google this sooner? So I moved on to the other boss that was recommended by PlayStation profiles, and then started chipping away at some of the 64 combinations on the boss fights leading up to this area as well, just to make my life easier. So when reaching the recommended boss, I was pretty good at the 14-hit combination because I was practicing it for so long where I was failing, and I worked out that if you split the 14-hit combination into a 4-5-5 pattern, it works out pretty well. You need to make sure that you're giving like maybe half a second between taps. You don't want to do them too quickly, but you'll kind of find yourself in a flow state and also starting to memorize the buttons as well. I would probably say that this is the hardest trophy in the game to an extent, trying to get a 14-hit combination, because it is a lot to do. Luckily, you can pause the game if you want to between pressing buttons, but I wouldn't really recommend it because you kind of lose your flow. But after a couple of attempts on this recommended boss, I did actually get the trophy and was quite elated with it as well. Oh! Yes! Yes, let's go! Oh my word, finally. Let's go. 14 combo who? 14 combo who? Chat, that is the source, by the way. You do 4, 4, then 4. Well, 5, sorry, 5. Quick maths, I think. Or, no, 4, 5, 5. Quick maths. There we go. GG's. Let's go, baby.
And just to note on this 14 hit combination trophy as well, if you kill the boss or knock the boss into like the environment walls, it actually voids the trophy. So you don't get it. You need to line the boss up perfectly in the middle of the arena, making sure it doesn't hit anything or die. Once you think you've done the 14 hit combination, then you can kill the boss and then anxiously await to see if you did it or not, or if you have to reload a save. I'd recommend saving before the boss you want to attempt it on as well. And then to finish up, I just continued spamming through the combinations on various bosses, and then there's a nice little area at the start of the game where there's an enemy that always respawns in, so I was doing my combinations here. And it is quite common for you to kick the enemy off of the edge, and you will ultimately kill the enemy more often than not as well, because they are quite squishy. So if you just fast travel back to the temple and then back to the area, you can then run back to it and continue knocking out those combinations as well. So I had myself a little route going while I was checking off the combinations. And then I thought I had the trophy, but it turns out I obviously missed one, or it didn't register properly, so I went back through my list and then popped that final trophy and got the platinum trophy for Prince of Persia. Oh yes! Oh yes, let's go! Yes, there we go, there's the platinum trophy, Master Prince of Persia. I just had a feeling in that list, the triangle with, is it Elika's moves? Oh, goodness me. I was so ready to just crash out there and find a boss fight. Let's go, baby! Prince of Persia was quite an interesting game, to say the least. I even forgot to mention that Nolan North voices the Prince of Persia in an American accent.
Because that's Nolan North doing the voice, who's also Drake from Uncharted. It's just a bit discombobulating, because obviously he's a Persian prince, and it's the most American voice you can ever hear.
If you can look past the few flaws this game has, it's pretty enjoyable, but I would say that this is one of those games where you get caught up in the platinum journey and makes the experience slightly less enjoyable as you're juggling multiple trophies until endgame. Overall, I'd say that this game is worth checking out, as you can pick it up pretty cheaply, and it's also a piece of history being one of the first platinums on PlayStation. If you've made it this far, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. We're pushing for 2,000 subscribers, and while you wait for my big platinum challenge video, why not watch one of these recommended videos on screen? You can also catch me streaming on YouTube most days of the week, so why not stop in and say bye.